It's September 27th, 2012. Um, I've been dealing with some really intimate and personal occurrences in my life recently. And what I want to talk today about is what I've been going through. There's this idea, physics speaks of relativity. Um, Another term for relativity is relatedness or relationships. So ultimately, everything relates to everything else. Um, Speaking in a purposeful manner, what is the purpose and meaning of such a thing? In a human experience, one could say that we are all one, that we are all interrelated, and that when we relate to each other, we are coming into relationship with aspects of our own being. We are truly not separate, truly not autonomous, truly not free. We are contingent. Our sense of being an individual self is directly related to the other individual selves that we relate to. Now, the reason why I bring this up is because I have been confronting a particularly strong spirit, a spirit that has been fostered and nourished for multiple decades in relationship with another person. I shall name this spirit with a capital D, depression. So this spirit has been fostered and nourished and nurtured, and I'm confronting it through another person. Now, ultimately, I've had my own relationship with depression myself. However, this other person has their own experience of depression. Now, when it comes to, for the sake of being able to speak about these things, I am going to explain it, the spirit of depression, as an entity that has its own life pulse. This other individual has invested energy in fostering depression. Now, when it comes to being an individual, an autonomous, free individual, we have to have self-responsibility. Now, with the theory of relativity, we can't have self-responsibility. We can't be an individual that is responsible for ourself and our own action. Everything is related to everything else, so there is no one prime cause. Everything causes everything else, and everything affects everything else. So this diminishes free autonomy and individuality and self-responsible action. This diminishes freedom. Now, when I came across a term called transference in some of the stuff I've read about psychology, and transference is a very difficult thing for a psychologist because the separation between the patient and the doctor dissolves, and there is a transference of values, of purposes, of meanings that are influencing both the doctor and the patient. Same thing happens in a relationship. Like, for instance, when we enter into the sacred covenant of a marriage, it is very important that each person dedicate themselves to the relationship, and this diminishes their own individual self. In another way, from another perspective, this could also, the relationship of marriage, be a tremendous vehicle for the individual self if each individual involved in the marriage, in the relationship, allows autonomy of the other individual, freedom of the other individual. So we need to be sensitive to our spouse's needs and wants and purposes and meanings. However, we also need to give them allowances as well as ourselves to be our own personal individual. This is just to elaborate a little bit some of my ideas, some of my perspectives at this time, which may change. However, I've been confronting this spirit of depression through another. And what I've needed to do is understand what this other person perceives by what I call clarity and passion. Clarity for me, they may not have these understandings whatsoever of what clarity is and what the passions are. Clarity is an ability to step back, detach, and observe. Whereas the passions, in my definitions here, are something we immerse ourselves in and become possessed by. And this individual is possessed by the spirit of depression. And this spirit has been invested with a tremendous amount of energy and nurturance. So it thinks itself is the main and primary mover of this other individual. And so I've been confronting this. It's not my job to fix anybody, by the way. Ultimately, we each have to try to eke out what is our ability to be our own individual self. Some people cannot be their own individual self whatsoever. This is an aspect of life. Some people are completely dependent their whole lives, and it's neither good nor bad. It's just an aspect of life. And, as with all of us, we have to come to terms with certain things as they are rather than how we would wish them to be. But picking our own battles is also a very important aspect of life, and being able to set ourselves up in opposition to something, to separate ourselves off from something, to individualize ourselves,